What's going on there, guys? Good afternoon. Good Monday afternoon. Or Monday afternoon, yes. That dreaded Monday, May 2nd, 2022. It's about 12:11 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 2.9 earthquake here from the EMSC model right around the Java Trench southern end. Let's go ahead and check out the activity going on around the globe here. Kind of want to take you guys to an area, a little symmetrical volcanic cone here in Southern California. It's called Monache Mountain, and it is definitely volcanic. It's a volcanic cone, and I wanted to point out some activity that's occurring here, specifically at this feature here in Southern California. Let me back out a little bit here and show you. Of course, we're right around the Mount Whitney area, Olancha Peak, areas of the Coso volcanic range, but this specific swarm is occurring directly at this mountain range, Monache, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, mountain. I can't find a whole lot of information on it, although I do know it's a pretty prominent feature out there, and there's not a whole lot of information, like I say, on this. We're getting a little bit of earthquake swarming occurring on this specific cone, this volcanic cone here. Looks like about at least 6 earthquakes here, including a 3.0 that kicked off last night. It kind of looks like in this area. Last 7 days of earthquake activity doesn't ramp up anything, but we're getting a little bit of swarming out there on that volcanic cone. So something to watch, something to take note, because this has definitely got a lot of historical volcanic activity as far as Southern California goes. You got, of course, Long Valley supervolcano up here in the north. It's a major player in any way in plate tectonics and also volcanic activity. So we're going to watch this area pretty closely there with that beautiful volcanic cone feature out there in Southern California. Like I said, I can't find too much info on it. It's not listed on the Volcano's Discovery website. And by the way, I think I'm going to start using this site. I know I kind of talked down on it last night, but it's actually a pretty useful site if you have an ad blocker. So that's a must, folks. Otherwise, most people get overwhelmed with the ads, and it's just not good. But it does list quite a few of the volcanoes across the globe here. So we're going to start taking a look at this. It's pretty cool, actually. It's got a lot of stuff, like I mentioned. Earthquake features on there as well. But a lot of times this Volcano Discovery site will show even the earthquakes that may have been deleted or the false phantom quakes. Either way, we're going to keep watching this site because it's pretty cool. Ad blocker, though, a plus. Looking at the USGS earthquake activity, seeing things kind of light up here in Southern California on top of that activity around that volcanic dome that I just showed you, and some movement out in the Ridgecrest area picking up as well. Pretty densely region here of quakes happening. And also over here around the Garlock Fault Zone across the Grapevine, getting in on some activity over the last hour with a 1.6 here at the Grapevine and a 1.7 near Mojave, California. Not a whole lot of uptick down south here in this region of the state. It's mostly, seems like it always happens, that we get the uptick on the North American side, and vice versa. They tend to take turns. So that kind of tells me right there, this area is still definitely under, obviously, quite a bit of strain. We did see some earthquake activity here on the North American plate here, just the southern end of the San Bernardino Mountains, 2.4 in this area. Looks like a little bit of activity here outside the Cottonwood Mountains. Some microquakes prior to that as well. One earthquake down here around the Pine Valley, California area with a 1.4. That one at 9 kilometers. Working our way up north here into the San Andreas Fault Zone, the creeping section, looking somewhat active today. And of course up here around the Clear Lake volcanic field, where it's been kind of ramping up with swarming out there around the geysers. But they, don't let that name fool you, folks. There's actually not one single geyser out there. Look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. A lot of people are like, what are you talking about? There's geysers all over. No, there's not geysers all over. There's hydrothermal plants all over up there, creating those earthquakes. What do we got in Northern California? One earthquake out, or actually a couple up here in Northern Cal. These are some deep earthquakes. Look at that, a 2.7 at 31 kilometers. So can you guess what that is associated with? That's right, the Cascadia subduction zone, and some deep movement right there into that area of the southern end of the Cascadia at 31 kilometers down dip here underneath the North American plate. Also 2.7 here outside of Ferndale, a little bit closer upstream to the locked area at 19.8 kilometers there for a 2.7. So a little bit of movement taking place throughout Northern California, and some activity up here getting added onto the map around Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. We're still looking at a little bit of swarming there, at least at Mount St. Helens. We'll go ahead and check out the latest map here from the PNSN network. Of course, yesterday still showing nothing. That's hard to believe, folks, with the activity that we're seeing there down deep into the subduction zone. There's got to be tremor taking place here. I think they're having an issue with the activity as far as reporting it goes. Hopefully they get that fixed. But we will go to the recorded volcanic seismographs here at Mount St. Helens and take a look and see what's being added on here. There's definitely a lot more activity than what's being reported, but they are reporting a fraction of some of the quakes there at Mount St. Helens. So let's go ahead and wait for this to load up here. It's a 3-component broadband station, a BHZ. There at the dome, or the crater in that matter. Hopefully we get this to bounce up here. It's been a little slow recently. Come on, there we go. All right, jeez, took a little while to load. So obviously, right, there's a little bit of earthquake activity ramping up here. This has been ongoing, similar to this, what you're seeing here on the graph, for about a week now. And these are not huge earthquakes by any means. And if you look at the map here, you can see that the majority of these are under 1.0. Looks like we did have a 0.9 away from Mount St. Helens over here at 7-kilometer depth. But the majority of these definitely under 1.0. But there's quite a few of them. This is over the course of the morning time frame. And we can check out last night and yesterday as well. Notice the squiggly lines here are a little bit thinner, right? They're not well defined or amplified. So that kind of squashes these other earthquakes that would normally show up a little bit more larger on a scale compared to the previous graph I just showed you. So there's still earthquake activity occurring. These are much bigger than these little ones, obviously, but we're getting that activity continuing. This is a couple days ago here on the 30th UTC time, but that would make it the end of April, obviously. And there's some earthquake activity here kicking up. And some of these smaller ones here, notice the lines are much more flatter. So that makes these little earthquakes even smaller as far as the signature goes. So there's definitely an ongoing swarm of activity there at Mount St. Helens. And that is today's activity kicking up there. I'm not seeing any type of harmonic tremor that you would associate volcanic activity with, but earthquake activity, that's what we're looking at there at the summit of Mount St. Helens. I do want to bring up, ad blocker. Definitely need an ad blocker for that other page. But I do want to bring up the global GPS systems here. And for example, we can check out the displacements and whatnot at Mount St. Helens there around the dome, and they have quite a few. This site here has quite a few GPS stations, and we're going to just see if some of these are working. Looks like this one's out of order since about 2018, so we won't go to that one, unfortunately. I'm not for sure. Zoom in here. Maybe there's a little bit more operational one. Yeah, this one looks a little bit better. Maybe that other one's just gone. So there's definitely a downward tilt, right? This is the vertical displacement. And that could have something to do with the earthquake activity that we're seeing. You know, subsidence in a caldera, it does tend to produce some earthquakes. So this is vertical displacement. And notice the downward trend here over the last few years. Occasionally we get these little upticks around 2021. Looks like earlier this year as well, a couple measurements there. Noticing a trend of upward displacement, but it looks at long-term, at least long-term features. We're looking at subsidence of the caldera. This is the northward movement of the GPS station, and it looks like it comes and goes. Same for the east. But there's no major uplift or anything that I can see there at the Mount St. Helens region, but still something to watch and monitor. Let's go back to the latest earthquake map here. And Mount Rainier seeing some activity as well up around that volcano. And same thing, we can go up here and check out the volcanic seismicity map here at Mount Rainier and get in on the activity. Unfortunately, there's nothing specifically up here at the top. This one here I think is an error. I think we keep checking it and it gives us this weird image. So I'm going to utilize this one here, the Camp Muir area. Also 3-component HHZ station. And we'll see what these guys are reporting here as far as earthquake activity goes at Mount Rainier. So yeah, definitely some earthquake activity. This one kind of looks like one as well. Let's see what the previous day UTC time kind of looks like as well. There's a 3.6 that hit up in the Mount Vernon area in Washington a couple days ago. So no major swarm. This doesn't even look as active as Mount St. Helens does, although on that day it does. But then again, you notice these squiggly lines, right, telling me that the station's amplified, so we're able to see the smaller earthquake activity more stronger. The signature of the earthquake is more exposed, I guess is the word you can use. And on that day, definitely quite a bit of earthquake activity there at Mount Rainier. But the previous day, it's hard to tell with this, what's going on with that. And the last activity this morning, definitely see some earthquake activity out there around the Mount Rainier area, just not as active as the Mount St. Helens region. Some movement outside of Victoria up here, BC region, 0.3, 13-kilometer depth for that earthquake. Inland into the Intermountain West area, looking at Idaho, Sawtooth Fault System getting in on some activity, and a little bit of reported activity around Yellowstone. But I was looking at the Yellowstone seismograph overview here, and there's not a lot taking place here. Looks like there was 1 or 2 earthquakes here around the Yellowstone region, it looks like, or the Lake Yellowstone area, and that's going to be this signature right here. So again, these swarms come and go. Right now there's no swarming, just a little bit of small microquake activity in the area. Some movement throughout Utah and the center part of the country. Southern Plains looks pretty quiet. I know some severe weather threat going on out there today. Man, they need the rainfall, but they don't need the severe potential out there. But then again, yikes, it kind of goes hand in hand out there in that region. Puerto Rico area, all magnitudes map here, looking pretty calm as far as 9 earthquakes go in Puerto Rico. Not a big deal. 1 earthquake here, 4.5 around Haiti. And South America area, calming down here, it looks like. We did have some deeper movement here into the Peru-Chile Trench with hardly any subsequent surface activity up here around the trench area along the subduction zone. Just a 4.7 at 10 kilometers there. Seen some further activity around the South Sandwich Islands area with a 5.1 at 10 kilometers. And most of the activity today, aside from the microquake activity kicking up here and the regional movement here in Southern California, most of the activity has been around the Philippine plate today, around Japan, where we're seeing a swarm of 5s and 4s kick off here. Some of it deep, some of it shallow. So right there, it kind of tells me that something could be building here in these areas around the Trench, Mariana Trench, and the Philippines region. Got to watch that pretty closely. Also down here around the Tonga area, we're finally starting to see a little fill-in of earthquake activity. This latest one here, 5.5, I think we kind of noted yesterday and the day prior that we were looking at some movement here in this region, at least a 5. And we've seen that 5.5 kick up here. Although this is deep, definitely deep. So we got to remember, deeper earthquake activity does tend to add on to the stress of the regional pressure up here along the subduction zone. Yes, we do get large, deep earthquakes down dip, but it also adds up pressure on the upstream part of the trench, in this area, the Kermadec Trench. Some movement, shallow movement up here along the Tonga area, and once again some deeper earthquake activity here within the last couple hours. Excuse me. Around the Fiji Islands area, 5.4 at 519 kilometers. So a return of deeper movement once again in this area. Alaska Range, some activity along the Aleutian Trench, getting in on quite a bit of activity. And looks like the mainland region up here in Alaska outside of Anchorage getting in on a little bit of movement kicking up here outside of Denali as well. No major earthquakes. Here's the 2.5 and above. You can see that activity kind of scattered out and about throughout the Alaska region. The rest of the world, look at this. Aside from that earthquake activity showing up on the earthquake 3D globe, which is obviously below the 4.0 threshold, looks pretty quiet through the Java Trench. Through China, India, only one earthquake here from last night outside of the Armenia area, 4.9 at 10 kilometers. So pretty quiet on that side of the world. Let's go ahead and check out the EMSC model here real quick. Stand by for just a quick second while I get this keyed up, and we'll see what these guys are reporting. It looks like a little earthquake activity here, 4.4 around the Philippine plate, I believe. Let's see if the USGS is reporting that. Doesn't look like they are yet. See this activity up here, 4.4 in the region here, and some further activity throughout the Indonesia area as well. Yeah, it looks like that activity hasn't come into the USGS yet. So we'll see how this kicks up here, folks. Like I say, little swarms and areas of movement like that can kind of tell us, and possibly a region to watch. And these are a couple areas today, especially down here with this deeper movement into the Kermadec Islands area. Let's see here. Taking a look at the EMSC model. Obviously, we got 3s and 2s kicking up into the South America region. It's almost a daily thing. It's a major subduction zone area. But as far as the 4.0 and above, wasn't seeing anything hardly show up on the USGS map. And looks like a little activity here off the coast of Mexico in the 4 range. USGS, nada. Zip zero. So some activity to note here along the Middle America Trench. Gulf of California as well, just shy of the 4-pointer with that 3.9 in that region. So, and look at all these earthquakes here along the Kermadec Trench. Quite a few 3s, and I'm sure some smaller ones in there as well around this area that we're kind of watching. So definitely a sign of some increasing pressure. One earthquake down here, a 4.8 in the Balleny Island regions. I think that the USGS was showing this. Let me see. No, they weren't. That's a little on the odd side. Well, I can't say odd because sometimes they just don't report it, right? This one was at 1859 UTC time. So it looks like just about not even an hour ago this 4.8 came in here. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what I'm trying to explain here in this area, under quite a bit of pressure with all the deeper movement. So got to watch these zones pretty closely when we see that deeper activity. Balleny Islands, 4.8, 10-kilometer depth there. Down here on this chart, you can almost just barely see it down there, but definitely noticeable, and definitely getting in on some uptick in activity in that region of the world. Solarham.net website, solar weather monitoring. Go ahead and see what the charts are showing. Not a whole lot of uptick in solar weather currently. Kind of noticing this downtrend over the last couple days. Here within the last hour or so, looks like we got a little C flare, maybe a long duration C flare from one of the sunspots, but nothing significant, creating a small area confined over, it looks like the North America region and the off the coast of Mexico there, with some absorption predictions here. The DRAP map indicating that activity there with a high frequency, a blackout, so to speak, in that area. Might be a good day to, I don't know if Skip's coming in today or not on the ham radio or CB band. Might check that out here in a little bit, but current status looks like a C3.1. No major stuff going on currently. This last flare was a couple days ago, the X1.1, and looking at at least a regional view here of the Earth side of the sun, not a whole lot of dynamics currently pointing right at us. So just we'll have to see what comes up around the bend. Kind of getting a glimpse of maybe some new development here on the eastern limb. That's still kind of on the far side of the sun with this dynamics indicator there. We'll have to see how it develops and if it will provide us with any solar flaring here in the coming days. Earthquakes Canada map here. We'll check this out. And looks like there is a little activity up here around the northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, inland also into the BC area, with some red circles showing up there indicating earthquake activity within the last day. Most recent quake, though, up here along the Pacific Plate boundary of the Juan de Fuca, well, actually in this case it would be the Explorer Plate and the Pacific Plate here, with a 3.1 at 10 kilometers, well off the Queen Charlotte Sound area, but starting to kick up a little bit there in that region. Let's see, anything else to cover, folks? I think that's about it, so we'll keep watching the activity and see how it goes throughout the course of the day today. Again, the model here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows latest earthquake activity on the EMSC model, which is the reason for the 2s and 3s here, which are pretty cool. Otherwise, we'd only have, say if I utilize the USGS, we'd only be looking at 4.0 and above, and it would be missing all these areas that are seen swarming, such as South America and along the Kermadec Trench over here, and so on. So combination of both the USGS and the EMSC model here on the globe, and also the rings here when they're raised off the globe indicate the depth of the earthquakes, such as that deep Fiji quake that kind of kicked off here a little bit ago. Let's see here, which one was it? It was this one right here, right? 4.6. Yeah, it's definitely raised up off the globe pretty significantly, indicating that deep earthquake. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. Hope everyone enjoys their day. I'm going to get back here to helping Missy Mimi's out here with the kids. Sounds like they're hungry. They're always hungry. All right, guys, have a good day. Chat to you a little bit later.